Man, what an honor. What an honor. I'm always honored to be on this stage, whether it's playing music or hosting or praying or whatever it is that we get to do on stage. I'm always honored to do that because this is a special place. It's a special place to me. Just like Ernest and Maria left a huge impact here, and they're special to me. This place is special. Before we get started, before I even tell you who I am and what I do, I want us to honor our pastor this morning because a lot of pastors can say, like, you know, they believe in you and they love you and they want to see you, you know, move forward, but Alex lives it. He not only pushes us throughout the week and encourages us, but he makes things happen like this to push you in position, you know what I mean? To put you there, to make you do the thing that God's calling you to do. So that takes a whole level of care and trust and encouragement and love, and he lives that every day when we're in the office. It's like that all the time, so give that guy, our pastor, Alex Gallion, a big round of applause. Like he said, I'm the creative pastor here. Obviously, we have theme music when we walk in now to preach. So I felt like a wrestler for a second. Wrestler. Anyway, I'm the creative pastor. I have a really great team of people. Ernest being one of those people, Daniel, Jesse, Josh, and Michael. I have the guest experience, the safety team, the production team, and also the worship team. All those guys, we work together to make this experience what it is. We call it an experience because service is something you have to do. An experience is something you get to be at. You get to experience something. So that's the reason why we call it a worship experience. And for some people, it'll be the first time they ever experience Jesus. And that's really key on why we've always said that. So I love what I do. I love what I get to be a part of. I'll pop my family up here on the screen for you. If you don't know who they are, it'll be there in just a second. So that's me. That's my wife. That's my oldest son, Dylan. That is my daughter, Ava, and my youngest son, Zion. He is a firecracker. I tell you, the little one. My kids are great. As you know, as being a parent, it's tough sometimes. Those relationships are always changing, evolving. You never know what to expect, but I love my family, my kids, my wife. She is my teammate, my best friend. I mean, she is the greatest encourager that I have. She encourages me when I don't believe in myself. She stands beside me. She also does things like she has a big career where she is always moving and going and doing things. She works in kiddos. She's on the design team. She's on the finance team. Like, she's a yes person. She always says yes, if you can't tell. She's a hard worker, though. She is one of those people that drives me to push myself and to succeed. So my wife is a huge part of my life. She's been a big influence on me, and she loves people. And that's going to play into this message today. So before we get into that, we're going to be talking about love and relationships today, how love intercedes into relationships. Now, you may be asking yourself, you picked the bald guy with all the tattoos to talk about love and relationships. And yes, and I have lots of experience in really messing up love and relationships, so that's why I'm here. But what is the purpose of a relationship? There's two things that God talks about in Genesis 2:18 about relationships, two very, very important things, and that is he didn't want Adam to be alone. That was one thing, and he wanted him to have a helper. Now, there's two things he says in those verses. One is we're not meant to be alone. God has always pursued a relationship with us, just like he wants us to have a relationship with other people. And two, we need a helper. So maybe you think about help in a different way, but it's not what God's implying here. Relationships do one thing in helping you. They help you root out your selfish behavior. They kind of work in humility. Amen, dudes? Amen. Work in some humility, work out pride, but they also help you with your controlling spirit. Because I'm pretty sure everybody's probably similar in the fact that we like to control things and have control of everything, and we like to do that with people too. It doesn't always work out very well. It actually never works when you try to control someone, but that helps weed that out of our lives, and that's what relationships are for. So what's love got to do with it? That's the title of the message today. Yeah, y'all like Tina Turner? It's a good song. And it's cool because, like, in this song, Tina has a really jaded view of love. Like, her relationship with Ike was pretty awful. So she actually talks about the person that says they love her, they just say it, and they keep hurting her over and over and over. And they just say, I love you, kind of to cover up for it. Well, she eventually gets to the point after being hurt so much, she's like, I mean, what's love got to do with it anyway? And we're going to talk about love, and we're going to talk about Is it a word? Is it an action? Things like that. And we're going to talk about how it's the greatest thing in the world here in just a second. But what is love to you? I think it's something we all want. We're all chasing it. We're on social media being something we're not, wanting people to affirm us, validate us, confirm us, everything. We just want to be cared for, right? And at the end of the day, we want to be able to go to sleep at night and know that someone loves us. That's what we want in our life. It helps us survive. It helps us live another day. If we don't feel that from anyone, that changes the game for a lot of people. There's people that have, committed suicide, taken their lives, done crazy things in the world because they don't feel like anybody cares. So what is love? I think it's something, like I said, we're all searching for. We love to watch movies that have happy endings. We love when someone finds their soulmate, whatever that is. We love when bad things happen in little towns, and they come together, they rally around a cause, they're united together, and they overcome because of what? Love. They have love for one another. But this kind of love, what I'm going to be talking about is in 1 Corinthians 13 today. We have the New Living Translation. And this is Paul. He's talking to the church of Corinth. Now, I'm going to give you a little context to this. Corinth is a pretty cool place. It is a place where there's a lot of creatives, there's a lot of smart people, a lot of people like a lot of money, people with gifts. They're very passionate about how they are and what they believe in. But the church in Corinth, which is made up of a lot of new believers, obviously, because this is very early in the church, they're disagreeing about everything. They're really mad. And so the problem is, with something like that, Paul has kind of went on this rant from 1 through 12 in Corinthians. And he gets to 13 and he kind of stops, just to remind them of what love is. So we get to 13 and this is what he says. He says, if I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and I understood all of God's secret plans, possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it, but if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever. Now our knowledge is partial and incomplete, and even the gift of prophecy reveals only part of the whole picture. But when the time of perfection comes, these partial things will become useless. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child, but when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror, but then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. So if you're taking notes today, the first point I have for you is love works. Now, we're going to go back to verse 7 really quick. We're going to go into a different translation because I want you to see this verse in a different way. It's the English Standard Version. And it says this in 13:7. It says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Now, I think that's intentional. It's just my belief, because I feel like love has to bear all things before it can endure all things. Because when Jesus was in the garden, it's really important that you know that when he was in the garden, he was praying for the future. He was praying for his disciples. He was praying for unity. He was praying for future believers. And in the weight of all that, in that moment, he starts sweating blood. It's heavy. It's heavy. It's a very heavy moment to handle. But he was bearing the weight of that love so he could endure the cross later. Everything that happened after that was nothing compared to what that was in that moment. Because he had to bear all that weight of all that sin that was coming. It was coming. And he was able to endure everything else afterwards. So it's important. Love has to bear all things first. It's funny because the word bear comes from the word stego. Now, I don't know if it's how you pronounce it. I just took Lego, took an L out, put an ST in there, stego. So that's what I go with. That's how I do things. But anyway, stego means roof. Now, love is a roof. So love provides what? Covering. It provides protection. So love should be a place of shelter, not a place to be exposed, right? So that's what love is, right? So love is never meant to stand still. Love gets up early. Love is hardworking. Love builds communities. Love unifies people. And this is another point I want you to really write down. If we build our foundation on love, we build it on the well-being of others. It's not on yourself. You're building a foundation on loving on other people and what they need. Now, God showed me something really interesting. I have been in a thing this past year of my life where I've really been trying to learn about myself. I've seen a counselor once a week for a year. My year is coming up next month. And it's something I was very intentional about. I found a lady in Jackson who I started seeing, and I told her what I wanted to do. I told her I wanted to be a better husband. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better person, a better leader. I want to figure out some things about me that really hinder me from truly loving and being loved and understanding what those things are. So I've been on this journey for a year. It's been amazing. I have learned so much. I'm actually going to be done next month. So no more co-pays. Super excited about that. But it's been wonderful. I've learned a lot about myself. And something that I didn't know, when me and my wife first got married, we've been married almost 11 years. And right when we were about to get married, I was probably at the lowest point I have ever been in my entire life. I had been married twice by the time I was 25 years old, 2 divorces, some drug issues, some other addiction issues. I was really mad at God. I had told God at the age of 18, I was like, I'm done. If you've ever heard my story, you know, at 18 years old, I left church and I was never coming back. I made it clear to God and to everyone around me, I was done with it. So I didn't want God to love me. I was really struggling with people loving me, but I was trying to love a person all at the same time. And I remember going to her parents, and I'm a kind of guy, I usually ask for forgiveness. I'd already proposed to her, but I went and talked to her parents afterwards. So I go talk to him, and her dad, I remember him saying this to me. He said, yeah, Alicia's talked to us a little bit about this, and when she first came to me with it, I was like, Josh Crawford? That's so disappointing to hear from your future father-in-law. But that's just kind of where I was. That was my story at the time. Well, this is what Alicia said. She started crying. He told me, and he actually cried telling me the story. She started crying, and she's like, yeah, Josh Crawford, the one. She's like, that's who I want to spend the rest of my life with. And I made up my mind. I love him. That's who I want to be with, and that's what I want to do. And you see, I didn't want God to love me, but God showed love through her that I had never seen before. She went to bat for me. And that just meant the world to me, and it impacted me. You know, like the old hymn, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. That's where I was in my life. Nothing could help me at the moment. I was struggling with everything. I was struggling with just day-to-day stuff. But when I felt that, it hit me, in that moment. I didn't say anything to him, obviously, but it hit me so hard. I was like, man, my wife, she really loves me. And so we got married, and, I started discovering things about myself. I still didn't want to go to church. I still fought that. But I ended up going a couple of times, and the way that God showed love through her changed my entire spectrum, changed my direction, changed everything in my life. So love works. Love's going at it. Love is striving. Love is serving others. It doesn't say in the Bible, for God so loved the world that he told them so, right? Because that would sound really dumb. And I'll be honest, in the Bible, you don't read about Jesus walking around going, love you guys, love you. He doesn't, and I'm sure he did that, but it's not recorded. Because that's not important. What's important and what is recorded is him showing love to people, serving people. That's what's recorded. So it's important to know that love works. Second point, love hurts. No, this is not song titles. I know. It's all I had. I'm not doing Nazareth right now. It's not a commercial, so I know, it's funny. Let's be honest, though. When we get into a relationship with anyone, whether it's friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, it's out of selfish motives. Because we're in a relationship based off how they make us feel, right? Oh, their smile does this to me. Or they say this thing, and it just makes me just whatever, those things. I'm not really good at making that analogy out of that, but just, You know what I mean? Like, there's things that people do that just make you feel like, oh, I want to, like church, same way. Like, we go to a church because it does something for us. 90% of the time, like, I will never hear, usually ever, I don't think I've ever really heard this. Like, somebody will come to me and go, I just want to come to this church because I'm just ready to get involved and just go change the world. Most times, like, I like coming here because it makes me feel. Like, initially, we just start out with a selfish motive, and it can't last. But then we had this love it or leave it mentality. We do that in America. Hey, love it or leave it. I don't even know what that means. But, because you can't really leave it. I mean, you're just kind of here. But we had that in relationships where we are like, I love you, but then when I don't, when you stop doing things for me, I'm out. But if we're honest, if we're really, really transparent, if we're self-aware, if we're honest, we actually say, I'm not investing in this anymore, so I'm done. Because that's the truth. Like, the truth is it's not the other person's fault. It could be. Like, there's communication issues and things like that. But if we're honest, we're not investing either. So we have this thing, and especially in church culture, where we want to have a church full of people that think like us, act like us, do things like us, look like us, and then we can all go love each other, and that's easy. That's not messy at all, right? It's how we are. It's why we can't get along. It's what the Church of Corinth was having trouble with. There were so many different groups of people in that church. They couldn't get along with one another. But like, if everybody's Baptist, everybody's Baptist. Oh, we're all good, man. As long as we can agree on that, we're good. What's your theology? Okay, yeah, I like you. You know, this is how we are. It's how Christians are. It's how we're built. So, that's not how true love is measured, though. Write this down. True love is not measured by how we feel. True love is measured by how much our love is tested, and we still choose to stay together. And that's hard, because if you've ever been in a long relationship, or you've been married, or anything that tests you, that's big. And there's times you've always got to choose. I know me and my wife have been very intentional in our marriage in the past year of trying to do some things differently, trying to change the way we do, because I really suck at communication. Like, if there's one thing that I am not good at, it is communication. I promise you. I should have taken that in college. Like, man, I'm just not good at it at all. I forget things. I get busy. My head gets ahead of everything. I just lose it. And it's like, you didn't tell me. I'm like, I know. Like, I even know when it's coming. Like, I just already know. But it's tested. And even though we have those issues, we still have to look at each other and choose to stay together. That's the point. Just as a church, you got to choose to do this thing together. That's a choice. Like, God just doesn't put us all in the same room and it's like real cool and easy and just forever. It doesn't work that way. So we've talked about these two things. We talked about love works. It's a thing that works. It's always moving. It's always going, because when love stops working, it's what? Useless, basically. Because love is just a word then. It has nothing behind it. So then we have the second thing where we know love hurts sometimes. Like, it's not about us. It's about other people. Now, this is what we have to realize. This is my third point. Love is all we got. Now, I'm going to explain that a little bit more for you. If we go back to 1 Corinthians 13, we're going to read 9 through 13 again. It says, now our knowledge is partial and incomplete, and even the gift of prophecy reveals only part of the whole picture. But when the time of perfection comes, these partial things will become useless. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now, we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete. But then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Now, it says our knowledge is partial and incomplete. It says, even the gift of prophecy reveals only the part of the picture. We see things imperfectly. We see things like reflections in a mirror. And back then, the mirrors weren't really nice like ours. They were fuzzy. Because see, we haven't seen God face to face yet. Everybody in this room can agree we have not seen God face to face. Okay? So now we're on the same level. Everybody got me? We're on the same level. We haven't seen God face to face. Nobody's been there and come back. Like, that's where we are, right? But we all believe something. We all have a system of beliefs that have been embedded in us since we were kids. We all have this thing that we've grown up believing, whether it's a theology or a denomination or whatever it looks like. Those are our beliefs, and we'll live and die on that all day long. We'll not hang out with people because they don't believe like we do. We will talk about people because they don't believe what we believe. But none of us have seen God face to face. Always remember that. Haven't been there yet. I have some people that I talk to from different denominations, different cultures, and I'll hear things like, well, so-and-so believes that, they're a bunch of idiots. I'm like, man, that's tough. Because I always respond with, I don't know everything, and I know that. I believe a lot of things, but I'm wrong about something. I'm sure of it. Because I'm a person, I'm a human, and there's just things that I don't know. My theology is not going to be the shoulder you cry on when you're hurting. It's not going to be the thing you run to when you're hungry. It's not going to be the thing you run to when you need money. It's not going to be the thing you run to when you've lost everything in the world and all you got is what? Theology. That is not it. Love is all we got. It's all I got. It's all you got. We can pretend like we know everything. We can actually be Christians and never show Christ to anyone. Or we can just show people that Christ is all we need. Like we can have that option. Because I promise you, I have beliefs too. I get mad too. Like I don't come at this from an authoritative figure. I come at from a Me Too standpoint. I struggle with it too. I struggle loving like I'm supposed to as a husband, as a dad. Like all these things I struggle with. I struggle loving other people. There's people that I don't talk to anymore. Some of them I can. But the problem is that we get into these things where I believe this. And if you don't believe that, then I can't do life with you. And that's where they were in Corinth. So as a church, we have an option. We can love the people that come in this door and we can love each other. Because let me just explain it to you this way. Do you think when Ernest was up here earlier, we didn't say, man, Ernest, you taught us so much about the Bible. I'm so glad you were here. We didn't say that. Thank you, Ernest, for loving us. And we got to love you too. And that love keeps going. Because just like it says, the gifts, they will die. Your knowledge will die. When you get to heaven, you won't need faith anymore. You won't need hope because you will see God. But you will always have love forever. Like it never stops. Even when we die, all we have left when we leave this earth is the love that we shared while we were here. I didn't share this with 9 a.m., but every time I think about when my time is done, when I'm gone, what will my funeral look like? Like who will show up? Like what kind of legacy am I going to leave when I'm not here anymore? That's all I really care about, to be honest. That's it. When I'm gone, what does it look like? What do I leave behind? I can't take any of that other stuff with me. I love stuff too, guys. I want to know more. I want to grow more. But if I don't love more, it's irrelevant anyway. Now, I know there's some of you in here, you have a friendship. Maybe you have a marriage. This is in a really bad place. Maybe you have family members you don't talk to anymore. And sometimes that's okay. There's some relationships you can't have. Maybe you're here and you're in a relationship and it's just bad. God can restore that. He'll do it again every time. And even when you have zero hope, God can restore that. And maybe you can say, well, Josh, it's too late. I'm already divorced. Josh, it's too late. My dad died before we ever could reconcile. It's too late. God can restore you. Because a wise lady told me this one time, you don't forgive others because they deserve it. You forgive others because you're worth it. Now, we can put it off on other people all we want to, but it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to love people just like God loves us. It's responsibility to love my wife like God showed me that love through her. Like it's our responsibility to do that. Now, we're going to stand in just a second. But I want you to know that without that love, I can't say this enough. Like I just can't. Because I was going to preach on something completely different today. And I have seen situation after situation after situation pop up in the past few weeks where it's just like, people don't know what love is, Josh. And I don't either sometimes. But the perfecter of our faith, he does. And he shows it. So no matter what you believe in here today, you may not even believe in God. And that's okay. it's okay. I love you regardless. The Bible is a wonderful thing, but I will be completely honest. There's gray in there. There's things I don't understand in there. It's always been told to me, it's black and white, it's black and white. I don't see it sometimes. And that's okay. Because God loves me anyway, just like I am, just like I rolled in. He just loves me so much that he doesn't want me to stay there. He wants me to keep pressing, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning more about him, keep doing this, but keep loving people at the same time. You can't stop. We live in a culture that's so divided in so many different areas, by race, by gender, by everything. We take a stance on everything now. You don't like Pop-Tarts? Well, screw you, man. I mean, it's just how we are. Like, it's just how we are. It's a great reference, Pop-Tarts. Remember that. It's just who we are, though. We take a stance on everything. I believe in this, and I'm going to stand firm on it. Why don't you just stand firm on love? Let's just try that. Let's just try it one time. Take your week this week and just go love somebody that you don't even like. Try that. It's hard. That's when it gets uncomfortable. But you will leave a legacy like Ernest and Maria. You get to be a part of that. That's what this church was founded on, just loving people. They didn't know, didn't have it together. They were just like us because we're all the same. We can pretend we're way up here. Remember, we ain't seen God yet. So we're still all level playing field. I know it's hard. Some of us, we want to be above other people. It doesn't work that way. Let's stand. I'm going to pray for you guys this morning, and then we're going to go into a time of worship.